Hey there, thanks for checking out my YouTube channel, I greatly appreciate it. Today we've gone grab a cup of coffee and do a little bit of shopping in the 2014 Chevy Cruze. So I thought I would bring you along, kind of go for our little run through. I've been using my little OB2 code reader down here, so we've been checking the code to see how things are going. We still have that code going on for a preheater on, well, it's on the, how do I describe it? It's built into the housing on the thermostat, so it's got a problem. We need to replace that, and we're doing videos about that, so that's pretty straightforward. It's not if I can drivability. Let's go for a little run. You can kind of get a taste of what it's all about. So far, we're about a week into it. We've changed over the ownership. We've done all the paperwork and administrative end of it. It's all good. Plates are on there. Insurance is in place. I need to go get it safetied. But before I can get it safetied, I got to take care of this little engine light that's coming on for that little thermostat related problem. So again, nothing big. We had a little crack on the front bumper from the previous owner hitting a raccoon at one point, and clearly not incredibly hard, but enough to be able to cause a little bit of damage. I was going to originally just replace the bumper with something from a U-pull-it yard or from a scrap yard, kind of match up the color and go from there. Again, not looking for perfection, but was looking for just ease, bolt on, bolt off, but I couldn't find anything undamaged and not in the right color. So it became a struggling point from that standpoint. So we had to do a repair. Pretty easy, time consuming. It took me an afternoon to do it. I still need to do a blow-in, which is where we take a little bit of paint and kind of take care of that little area. Now it's down below the belt line, kind of where the spoiler is. So it's one of those things that I think will blend really nice. So it shouldn't be an issue from that standpoint. I've got a couple little other things cosmetic-wise to take care of, a little touch-up paint, a few other little things. One of the mirrors on the passenger side was missing the cover. Apparently it blown off or hit something. It wasn't any damage to the actual mirror itself, but the housing was an issue. So again, I went down to a U-pull-it yard down in Woodstock. Managed to find a mirror, which is great, but it's wrong shade of red. I kind of knew that when I was buying it, but it was cheap. It was $35. So it resolves that, and when I get the paint in for doing the front bumper, I will paint the mirror appropriately so it matches. Again, I'm not that concerned about painting the mirror. I can do that in my front yard. It's easy. And I'll do a little clear coat on it, and it'll look fine. It'll be one of those passable items. And, from 5-10 feet away, you're not going to notice it. If you get real close, maybe. But again, it's a 10-year-old car. So not major damage, but just cosmetic stuff. And there's a little bit of scrapes and scuffs on where you slide your boot in on the door sill. I need to fix that up. That's pretty easy. Right now, I went ahead and we tightened up some of the exhaust clamps and a few other little things, and some of the hangers. It was banging pretty good when I got it. Like it's doing a little that type of thing. It's not doing that anymore, which is nice. Again, it's a weird little car. It wasn't what I was looking for, but the price was right, and the opportunity being local was easy. I was literally able to walk and pick it up. So that's why we're into a Cruze and not into a Mitsubishi product, which is on the hit list, but again, probably not for 6 months or so. So driving the car, the experience for a mid-size or a compact car, it's pretty decent. Got good hip room, seats are comfortable, they're cloth, they breathe nicely. Seat position, it's got a height adjustment, it's got pretty comfortable from that standpoint. Being all manual, but again, the finish looks okay. Windows, mirrors, they're up power, they work finely, they're in kind of a central location, they work good. Locks are in the dashboard, kind of like a PT Cruiser. I guess they were copying those folks. I think it's because this is a European style model, so I think they did that as kind of just do one button instead of doing two different doors. I'm going to assume. Audio package, it works well, functions. The Bluetooth is a GM exclusive, which I think they were trying to sell OnStar minutes with it. So every time you hit Bluetooth, it goes through the pitch of maybe you like to buy some OnStar time, right? So that's annoying. Probably going to take care of that with the new head unit. And Amazon has a couple listed there that look like tablets, and they're around $200. So I think I'm going to do that. With that, I'll get a Bluetooth update, so it'll handle any phone. It'll give it a nice source for a microphone, so it'll be better audio. Plus, it'll give access to Apple CarPlay and the Android stuff. It'll be good for a music library. I think even some of them have a little GPS system that you can kind of mirror through your phone. So I might go that route. For $200, it seems to be a nice little upgrade, and it seems like an easy thing to do. It's a trim piece and a plug and play, so that's probably going to come up. So the audio package is a little dated. Gauges, they look fine. They're kind of in a little pod design. You got a little leatherette wrapped wheel, controls on the steering wheel for cruise control and audio. Everything seems to be pretty decent. I do like the fact that it's got automated lighting, so it comes on as soon as it gets dark. You don't have to worry about it. It's kind of a nice little win on a compact economy car. Drive-wise, got a little bit of noise coming from what I think is a warped brake rotor. So again, the intent on this one is to pull the tires off, and at some point I'm going to do the brakes anyways, so I think that'll resolve that issue. When we lean to the left, or we lean to the right, lean to the left, I'm not getting anything in the way of a whine or a drumming noise, so wheel bearings feel good. The shocks seem to hold well. I'm hitting bumps and ruts in the road, and steering wheel staying nice and straight, no issues there. So I feel pretty confident from that standpoint it's going to work well. Air conditioning works, but it's weird, and I think there's something going on either with something's loose, because whenever I hit the AC button on startup, I get a little rattle, kind of a little, and it's not like an engine noise. It sounds like it's just striking a frame rail, or maybe there's something that is just kind of bumping a little bit, and it's just transferring into the interior. So that's going to be one of those investigate. It's probably a really simple solution. The AC is nice and cold, so that's not a problem from that standpoint. Heat, because the thermostat and it's stuck in the open position, this car takes forever to warm up, which, being a turbo car, may not be a negative. It means that the previous owner, if they've been ignoring this problem, which I think they have been, it's not a huge issue, it means that the car has been running cool. So if you have a turbo, you run the risk of running the engine a little hotter than a non-turboed car. So I think by doing that, they've actually increased the longevity of the engine and perhaps the turbo itself. So kind of different from that standpoint. At least I'm justifying it that way. I've got the part come in, so I'm going to do that tomorrow, get that done. And then once I get the check engine light off and I pull the tires and do the brakes, we're going to run over and get a safety done. Now the safety in Ontario has changed like at the beginning of the month. So everywhere I go, or the people I've called, seem optimistic about it. Like it's one of those things where I kind of go, it should be pretty easy. Like a safety is. Like it brakes work, tires are good. There's no holes in it. Everything seems to be functional. Lights are good. Everything's the way it should be. But they seem to make it out to be a much deeper safety. And I'm kind of thinking, well, how can you go deeper on safety? Either the brakes work or they don't. It is what it is, right? But apparently it's just a hassle. So it's one of those things where the price has gone up, and there seems to be this subtle hesitation on what's covered from the technician standpoint. So I think there's a learning curve that hasn't quite fully completed. And most places are asking for an hour shop time up front. So they want $135 to do an inspection. Then they're going to come back and tell you what it needs based on their assumptions of the test. And that's got me a little annoyed, to be honest with you. Because the last safety you'd spend your $200. They would tell you that it didn't pass safety. And go get it fixed, or they'd give you an estimate and you'd fix it. Like not rocket science, an easy process, right? And for some strange reason, they've added a computer to the new safety, and that's just made everything overly complicated. And government involvement It's just you go, you had a system that worked well, or at least I thought it worked well. Pretty cut and dry. The technician is licensed. And the argument is, well, they were doing incorrect safeties, or they weren't doing the proper safety, or you can get a gray market safety. And I think you can do that even with the tech stuff. Like, I don't think that's really a struggling point there. And to be honest with you, I don't think, if you're an employed tech at a franchise store, you're not going to risk your job doing a gray market safety for somebody. It's just not going to happen. I've worked a lot of franchise stores. It's not an ask. People don't go in and say, hey, buddy, can you just let it? Doesn't happen. And you get into an independent shop where the guy actually owns the place and he's got liability coming out of his wazoo. Like, let's face it, oh my God, like, ooh. Unless the guy's got like some sort of gambling addiction or something going on in the background, there's no way he's going to risk putting a car out that at the moment when he's doing the safety check, and it's very liberal, like it's not rocket, like again, I'm saying not rocket science over and over again, but it is pretty simple from that standpoint. Brakes work, lights work, that does its job. The wheels aren't going to fall off, right? Not a tough safety in Ontario to pass. Like, and to be honest with you, you're not doing yourself any favors by pushing a car through that isn't safe. You don't want to be on a road and the ball bearing falls out and the tie rod collapses and suspension falls apart and the car catches on fire, and next thing you know, you're on the 401 and you have to explain yourself. It's a nightmare. Like, why would you bother to do that? So again, this is my little old man rant about things change. Things shouldn't change. And you don't get the carbon copies anymore, which I kind of like because it felt retro. They give you the white copy, the blue copy, the yellow copy. The technician would keep one. The person behind the counter at the MTO would keep one. It's kind of fun. It kind of felt like you were doing something from the 80s. So that's done. So apparently it's all online and digital now. Don't you know? So it means it costs almost twice as much money. So that's a little annoying. However, in Ontario, you don't pay for the plate renewal sticker thing, so whatever. There's a cost to doing everything. So, but that's what we're up to. Again, we're just going for a drive, and this is just kind of a get my coffee, get ready for work. See, no clicking, doing a full 360 there. No crunching, no clicking, everything seems to be nice and smooth. I'm actually pretty pleased with this purchase. I'm pleasantly surprised. Knock on wood. So, when you get a car and you kind of go, geez, that's a really fair value for it, you kind of think to yourself, when's the other shoe going to drop, right? But so far the transmission shift's nice. All the fluids are the right colors. That's nice. Other than this little check engine light for the preheater, which, again, that's overcomplicated stuff. Apparently it's there to get the system a little warmer so the emission controls are better. I don't know how that would actually, why wouldn't you just put a different thermostat in? That doesn't make any sense from a design thing. And I'm still going through some of the emission stuff, again, because they're known for problems. So we're doing probably a preventative PCV valve, which is actually in the actual air intake system, so it's built into the component. I'm thinking of just replacing it completely. It's about $150 through Amazon, so that'll just done. They seem to go right about this timeline. Now I'm getting a little bit of a, I wouldn't describe it as a hard start, but a noisier start on cold temperatures. I've noticed that. And everything I read online tells me that it's probably related to a vacuum issue. So I'm going to replace that because it just seems like if it was back in the day in an old Cavalier, I would just replace a little PCV valve and that would resolve the issue. So it's probably very similar from that standpoint. Give it a little power. Turbo winds up nicely. Very comfortable. I don't think the car's been driven very hard. So I think it's just been like a A to B, get to work, back again. I've had it out a couple times, going to work myself. The fuel mileage seems on par with my Jag. So there's something going on there. I'm going to check the coil pack and the spark plugs and make sure everything's all decent. Or maybe this is just the fuel mileage this car gets. So maybe it gets the equivalent fuel mileage of a 2004 Jaguar X-Type. So maybe. But I think there's something going on there tune-up wise, so we'll have a little look at that. and we returned home. So that's a quick little 15-minute little runabout on my little 2014 Chevy Cruze. Would I recommend buying one? It feels like a nice little car. Like, no real qualms from that standpoint. I think it would come down to exactly the way I would approach it. How the car was maintained. Is it rusted? Because in Ontario that's a problem. Things along that line are probably things to look at. What's the price? I think that's a bigger factor. Is it on par with a Toyota or a Honda? The interior is pretty close. Like it's nice in here. So you can hear, I don't know if you can pick up on that, but there's a, crank her up. There's just a little subtle little knock, knock, knock whenever you put the air conditioning on. You may not even hear it, but it's there. So it's not a, it's cold, it doesn't delay or anything like that, but that's another thing I've got to look into. I think if you're a guy that can handle a little bit of maintenance and you don't mind doing a little service work and you're familiar with those little pre-noises, the little things that cause a car to have problems, like a creak or a crunch or things along that line as you're driving, you'll probably be very comfortable with this car as far as that's concerned. I don't think it's as bad as what people have rated it online. I think it's pretty decent from that standpoint. But my ownership has been about a week so far, and so far I've done just a little bit of maintenance and cleanup. So we'll find out long term how a 10-year-old Chevy Cruze is on the Turo platform. We'll go from there. That should be a pretty good benchmark. Well, thank you very much for checking out the video. I know it's cheaply done. We've got a Google Pixel 3 phone pointing at me. Again, if you subscribe, I would really appreciate that. It's a PBS moment. That subscription allows me to go up to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which means that I could qualify for a little YouTube revenue, which would be nice, based on my expectation of views of the 12 or 14 people that will watch this. I'm not expecting a huge paycheck from that, but it would be nice to be able to say, hey, I can put a little bit of money into maybe upgrading my phone to maybe a newer Pixel 5. I'm not talking brand new, I'm talking just a mild upgrade to it. And it would be nice to be able to update the studio a little bit, maybe get a camera for there, and maybe do some more live streaming, which we will do down the road. So again, this is just an impromptu, low budget. This is how my Turo adventure is going, or how my process is. Maybe that'll move into something else and we'll go from there. So again, subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And that's my PBS moment at the tail end, which you've probably already clicked off anyways. I probably should stay at the beginning of the video to watch to the end. Is that how it is? Watch to the end for the secret code, or the formula, the secret formula. That would work. That's what I'll do next time. At the beginning of the video, I'll say, stay to the end for the secret formula to success and empowerment. That sounds vague and intriguing. So maybe we'll do that next time. Again, I'm trying to run it right down to 1624, 1630, right? So it's a nice even little number there, so we can get 2 bumper ads and a mid ad in there, right? Got to think about the future YouTube advertising. And there we go. So we'll talk to you later. Have a pleasant and enjoyable day.